You know, I always say you don't have to be a historian to understand the role Kent State has played in the history of modern America. But I am a historian, and I know that our history is one that tells us of the dangers of polarization and an embrace of free speech. And so as I stand here amongst the 1990 Brinsley Terrell environmental artwork, which was the planting of these daffodils to remember all of those Americans killed in the Vietnam War, I'm reminded that part of our role in history and in the present now is to continue that conversation about the importance of free speech, but also the dangers of polarization, which can then lead to violence and which led to violence at Kent State. Wow, good afternoon, Alison. It's great to be here.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Can you explain a little bit about the space we're in and about the May 4th Visitor Center and Taylor Hall?
Sure. The May 4 Visitor Center is a permanent museum space dedicated to telling the story of May 4, 1970. And then this is a reflections gallery space, which is temporary exhibition and classroom space that allows us to tell further stories through exhibition to larger audiences. And then we have space for classrooms.
Every time I come here, I'm moved by the exhibit. I see something different. So just talk to us a little bit about why the exhibit is laid out the way it is.
So the Visitor Center is separated into 3 different sections. The first section tells the story of the lead up to events of May 4, 1970. So the blue bands here all talk about Kent State University and actions that happened at Kent State. And the exhibition space here is mostly national events. What I really love is these Polaroids that are telling the story of what happened on a personal level on campus. So we learn about Black United Student protests, but we also see students and families and faculty and what their experiences were like in the Polaroids, interspersed with these images that are so recognizable from history classes and history textbooks.
So this first section is sort of origins of student protest after World War II, but especially as led by African Americans fighting for desegregation and civil rights.
Exactly. This one is all about the generation gap, and we love to talk to students about the generational differences between baby boomers and their parents, but even extend that to what is life like for students today and how did it differ for these students. So this has so many interesting parts that apply specifically to Kent, but tell the national story of what life was like for students having to deal with the threat of the draft in the Vietnam War. So as you come through, you can find your own draft number and make that connection. There are also images like this image of the Stater, from the Stater by Chuck Ayers, which depicts his own experience being a part of the draft. He even worked his draft number into the illustration here. And then the ATO fraternity photograph, which shows all of the young men in ATO fraternity pose with their draft number.
Yeah, this fraternity brothers displaying their draft lottery numbers is my favorite photograph in the entire exhibit. Again, I had 2 brothers that were older than me and were this age, and I just love that they have their different numbers, but then this individual has one that says, already been there.
So I think one of the most interesting things is this image right here. So this is 1969. This is an anti-war march on campus, and right above the A is Allison Krauss, who died on May 4. And just to think that she is a college freshman, she comes here to Kent and she's participating in this march.
I love this particular photo of Kent, Ohio, and Kent State students in their Volkswagen van, and you could see that what was happening nationally was certainly also represented here.
So we have 2 maps in our museum space. This is student protests that erupted when Nixon announced his invasion of Cambodia. So you can see that they're all over the country, not just at Kent State. and then we walk people through the events that lead up to the day of May 4. Here we've got so many all across the country, University of Hawaii, Alaska, all student strikes, over 2,500 colleges and universities that responded by taking to the streets in protest in relation to what happened on Kent State's campus. So we have images, we have the Crosby, Stills and Nash record, we have photographs of the 4 students' hometown newspapers, telegrams, hate mail that the university received, as well as a clipping about the events that happened on Jackson State.
Thank you for giving us such a great tour of the May 4 Visitor Center.
Thanks for coming today.
My pleasure.